The producers at Compass Channel, a network best known for documentaries about Rust, were desperate. Their new flagship series, Mythical Makeover Madness, had tested well with focus groups who admitted they might watch if literally nothing else was on. Unfortunately, the pilot episode, featuring a very camera-shy chupacabra learning to exfoliate, rated lower than televised aquarium documentaries. With sponsors threatening to pull shampoo ads, executive producer Valentina Glick called an emergency meeting. "We need a legend!" she declared, stabbing the conference table with a glitter pen. Someone instantly recognizable, relatable, and shaggy enough to justify $50,000 worth of conditioner shots. The marketing intern timidly raised a hand. What about Bigfoot? Silence fell over the room as everyone envisioned the creature. Iconic silhouette, undeniable brand recognition, and above all, hair. A literal walking billboard for volumizing moose! The staff nodded in collective glee. 2 days later, in the misty forests of the Pacific Northwest, one such creature sat hunched over a stump, carefully whittling a duck call. His name, in the gravelly language of his clan, sounded something like Hrunach. But most hikers who caught a glimpse of him just shouted, "Bigfoot!" and ran away. He'd grown used to it. Bigfoot wasn't antisocial. He just valued personal space, the way humans valued Wi-Fi. Every few weeks, he strode into the small town of Timber Falls at dusk to stock up on maple bars and Sudoku booklets. On one such visit, while wearing his customary disguise, a trench coat the size of a camping tarp, and sunglasses as large as snowshoes, he noticed a colorful van parked outside the general store. The van boasted a mural of sparkles, ring lights, and the phrase, "Makeover Madness wants you!" Leaning closer, Bigfoot read the casting notice taped to the windshield. "Are you undiscovered? Are you a bit wild? Do you have follicles for days? Let our glam squad turn you from mystery to mainstream!" Below, in tiny print, "Participants must consent to use of hair products." Bigfoot snorted. Hair products. He still had nightmares about the time a lost camper tossed him a sample packet of coconut shampoo for the smell. The scent attracted fruit bats for a month. Never again. He crumpled the notice and kept walking, but fate, as it tends to do in humorous stories, had other plans. At the ranger station, Park Ranger Debbie, who had secretly known about Bigfoot's existence for years and protected him by labeling footprints oversized elk, flagged him down. "Hey, Furball," she said, using the affectionate nickname he tolerated. "Saw you eyeballing that casting van. You should do it." Bigfoot responded in deep guttural syllables, which Debbie's years of cryptid linguistics night classes allowed her to interpret as, "No way. They'll slather me in lavender goo." "Maybe," Debbie admitted, "but think of the positives. If you go public on your own terms, you control the narrative. Plus they pay in gift cards, and you keep the complimentary bathrobe." Bigfoot's brow ridge furrowed in thought. A bathrobe sounded cozy, and controlling the narrative meant fewer blurry photos of his hindquarters appearing on conspiracy blogs. Against his better judgment, and with a promise from Debbie that she'd smuggle in backup flannel, Bigfoot signed the release form with an X as wide as a rowboat. The following Thursday, production vans rumbled into a rented lodge deep in the woods, their satellite dishes pointed skyward like hopeful metal sunflowers. Bigfoot was ushered into a contestant holding area, which, to the casual observer, looked suspiciously like a horse stable, hastily decorated with string lights and inspirational posters. Believe in your inner you. Frizz happens. Other mythical contestants milled about. A jittery Jersey devil wearing aviator goggles, Mothman scrolling through a cracked phone, and an inflatable kiddie pool containing a remote feed. of the Loch Ness Monster's head via Zoom. Bigfoot offered polite grunts all around. The host, Blaine Fabulous, born Barry Fleckman but committed to reinvention, burst through double doors carrying a clipboard and enough charisma to power a small theme park. Welcome, wonders of the world, to mythical makeover madness, he sang, jazz hands sparkling with rhinestone rings. Cameras swooped in. Confetti cannons misfired prematurely. Mothman screamed and knocked over a ring light. Blaine introduced the Glam Squad. Pepper, the stylist, whose resume included 2 boy band comebacks and a poodle who won Best in Show. Rico, the colorist, famous for painting a Hollywood actor's eyebrows neon for an indie film. Serenity, the aromatherapist, who looked offended by the mere concept of unscented anything. By the end of the week, Blaine promised, our hidden heroes will emerge as headline hotties. Audience applause, piped in through speakers, filled the barn. Hidden behind a stack of ornamental hay bales, a craft services intern whispered to another, "Do they sell hairspray in gallon drums?" The other replied, "We ordered a tanker." Day 1 began with interviews. Bigfoot sat on a folding chair reinforced with steel beams, while a producer named Margot coaxed out sound bites. Margot, tell us why you wanted a makeover. Bigfoot, in guttural Sasquatch tongue. I didn't. I was bribed with a bathrobe. Subtitles on screen. I'm ready to look fierce. Next came the dreaded hair care workshop. Pepper approached Bigfoot with a selection of shampoos. Coconut Breeze, Waterfall Fresh, and Passion Fruit Thunder. The scents wafted toward him like weaponized fruit salad. No artificial perfumes. Bigfoot growled. Pepper blinked. But that's the whole point. Lather, rinse, ratings. Bigfoot crossed his massive arms, each the circumference of a redwood sapling. The standoff lasted long enough for the Jersey Devil to finish 3 cups of French roast. Finally, Blaine intervened. How about a cleansing mud mask? He suggested. Very primal chic. Bigfoot brightened. Mud, he understood. Mud was trustworthy. Pepper sighed with relief and fetched a bucket labeled Dead Sea Revitalizing Clay, unaware that most of it was just repackaged potting soil. Bigfoot dunked his mane, shook like an ecstatic St. Bernard, and splattered every surface, including the camera lens with earthy goo. Serenity shrieked. Mothman applauded. The producers reviewed the footage and discovered that when mud covered the lens, ratings from test viewers spiked. Apparently, chaos was compelling. They noted, encourage more product refusal. Drama sells. Day 2 featured the Spa of Self-Discovery. Contestants were guided through meditation while reclining on heated quartz slabs. Rico tried to smuggle in turmeric hair masks, but Bigfoot had prepared by weaving a protective helmet of ferns and bark. Whenever Serenity waved a lavender sachet near his nose, he held his breath like a grumpy toddler avoiding Brussels sprouts. The resulting footage showed Bigfoot turning progressively purple, while Blaine narrated, "He's inhaling the moment, folks." The illusion shattered when Bigfoot exhaled with such force that the sachet achieved low orbit. Back in confessional, Bigfoot admitted, "I thought spa day meant hot springs, maybe marshmallows. This is just scented warfare." Producers subtitled it, "I'm breaking through emotional walls." Meanwhile, the sponsor, Lusterlock Mega Gel, demanded at least one scene featuring their flagship product. Valentina, desperate, devised the Emergency Frizz Intervention Challenge. Contestants would sprint through an obstacle course representing life's tangles before diving into a vat of Lusterlock. Whoever emerged looking the sleekest won immunity from elimination. When Bigfoot heard the rules, he protested vigorously. "Vat bad," he said. "Vat sticky. Vat smell like chemical thundercloud." The crew interpreted only half of that, contractually obligated. Bigfoot lined up at the starting line beside Jersey Devil and Mothman. The whistle blew. Jersey Devil used wings to cheat over the tire hurdles. Mothman got distracted by a bug zapper prop and veered off course. Bigfoot lumbered steadily, knocking over foam walls labeled stress and negative self-talk, then halted at the gleaming silver vat. Cameras zoomed in. The audience watching the live feed held their breath. Bigfoot registered the pineapple mango fragrance, calculated the fruit bat risk, and decided on Plan B. With a powerful leap, he cleared the vat entirely and landed on the finish banner, which snapped and catapulted him into Blaine, who tumbled into the vat with a gelatinous splash. Producers screamed, sponsors gasped, and viewers nationwide choked on popcorn. The ratings meter lit up like a Christmas parade. Soaked in luster lock, Blaine tried to crawl out while his perfectly coiffed pompadour stiffened into a neon helmet. Bigfoot offered a gigantic hand to pull him free, but the glop suctioned them together. Considering the visual, an 8-foot cryptid glued at the arm to a sequined showman, the editors sensed Emmy potential. After medical staff applied industrial strength solvent, Blaine called an emergency huddle. "Darling," he told Bigfoot, still emitting faint pineapple notes, "you are gold for this show. Your authenticity shines brighter than my dental varnish, but viewers need a payoff. Will you consider a mild, fragrance-free styling gel? Aloe. You like plants." Bigfoot pondered the olive branch of aloe. "No smell. Neutral as a beige ottoman," Blaine swore. "Maybe small dollop," Bigfoot conceded, holding fingers slightly apart. To everyone else, it looked like the gap between telephone poles, but progress was progress. Day 3 focused on wardrobe. Stylist Pepper presented mood boards ranging from forest chic, think moss-colored blazers, to savage couture, a tuxedo printed with claw marks. Bigfoot gravitated to a simple flannel shirt labeled Sample, Paul Bunyan Collection. "It's okay if he wants lumberjack normcore," Pepper whispered to the camera. "I'll elevate with accessor." "No scarves," Bigfoot interjected, booming across the fitting room. He recalled a traumatic incident where a discarded knit scarf tangled around his ankle and almost made him trend on Twitter as Big Clumsy Foot. Pepper settled on heavy boots. Size, colossal. Dark jeans reinforced with seat belts and that beloved flannel. The ensemble screamed serviceable uncle at Thanksgiving, which oddly tested well with audiences over 40. Meanwhile, Mothman's makeover with reflective aviators was deemed too derivative of 90s boy band skis. He fled into lighting rigs and refused to return until someone played his favorite EDM playlist. Compared to this, Bigfoot's mild gel and anti-scarf stance felt downright cooperative. Day 4 introduced the home visit segment. Blaine and a camera team followed Bigfoot into the forest to learn about his roots. They hoped for heartwarming footage of childhood treehouses. Instead, Bigfoot showed them a rotting log he used as a pillow and a patch of edible nettles. The crew, eaten alive by mosquitoes, begged for shorter takes. Bigfoot happily obliged by walking at his usual stride, each step equal to 4 human paces, forcing the cameraman to jog until he collapsed atop a squirrel. During a fireside chat, Blaine asked, "What do you fear most?" Bigfoot thought, "Fear Gonier fructis, fear paparazzi, fear running out of maple bars." The subtitles distilled this into fear, vulnerability. Blaine dabbed a tear. The editors later added violin music that critics would describe as emotionally manipulative but effective. Day 5. The final reveal. The lodge's great hall had been converted into a runway, flanked by an audience of bloggers, cryptid enthusiasts, and a handful of bewildered lumberjacks who claimed they'd come for the pancake breakfast. Judges included Gloriana Slate, fashion influencer with 12 million followers and an aversion to sleeves. Buck Henderson, retired lumberjack, an undisputed champion of the Tacoma beard-off. Lyric, a teenage TikTok star famous for lip-syncing government press briefings. Contestants waited backstage on folding chairs labeled with their names in glitter. Bigfoot's label simply read, because the intern had run out of exclamation stickers. Pepper applied the promised aloe gel, odorless, clear, and surprisingly calming. Bigfoot inspected himself in a mirror for the first time in decades. The flannel fit. The boots looked sturdy. Most importantly, no tropical fruit fragrances hovered overhead. The runway music, a dubstep remix of Born Free, blasted. Jersey Devil pranced out first, tail tucked into designer skinny jeans. Judges clapped politely. Mothman fluttered wearing LED-lined wings. Lyrics squealed and started a live stream. Loch Ness Monster's Zoom feed glitched, so a stagehand wheeled out a cardboard cutout wearing a kilt, and Gloriana pretended to swoon. Then came Bigfoot. The room hushed. He strode down the runway with a lumbering grace, each footfall vibrating water glasses in a Jurassic Park homage. The flannel, although simple, complemented his earthy fur. The mild gel tamed flyaways but left volume. Strong overhead lights caught tiny flecks of quartz from the spa day still embedded in his mane, giving him a subtle sparkle. Halfway, Bigfoot paused, as coached, to show personality. He executed what Pepper called a blue steel meets breakfast bear glare. Cameras flashed, bloggers gasped, and among the judges, Buck Henderson stroked his beard, visibly impressed. Unexpectedly, Bigfoot reached into a satchel, withdrew a handful of pine needles, and sprinkled them over his head like confetti. The hall filled with a fresh, evergreen aroma. No artificial additives. The audience erupted. It was authentic, unscripted, and ironically more on-brand than any stylist's plan. Gloriana whispered, "Sustainable accessorizing. Genius." Lyric's livestream chat exploded with pine tree emojis. Buck Henderson stood, raised a giant wooden ruler, and declared, "That's a man who knows his trees." The judges convened. In reality TV tradition, dramatic drum beats lasted longer than some glaciers. Finally, Blaine returned with the verdict card. "By unanimous decision," he announced, fake trembling in his voice, "the Grand Makeover Champion of Mythical Makeover Madness is Bigfoot!" Confetti cannons fired real pine needles, which would cause a cleanup headache later, but the aesthetic was perfect. Bigfoot accepted a trophy shaped like an oversized comb, examined it for scent, and then hoisted it high, roaring jubilantly. The sound sent vibrations through studio microphones, and perhaps through the hearts of viewers, who appreciated what one critic tweeted as the collision of primal sincerity and flannel realness. Backstage, sponsor representatives approached nervously, holding cases of Lusterlock Megagel. "We'd love to sign you as brand ambassador," one said. "We can develop an unscented outdoors line." Bigfoot sniffed a sample jar. True to their word, no fragrance. "Fine," he said. "But commercial must film in forest, and no fruit bats." The rep nodded so hard his headset slipped. In the post-show reunion special, filmed 3 months later, ratings skyrocketed. Viewers learned that Bigfoot's unscented line, dubbed Wild and Free Formula, outsold every other product launch since shampoo for dogs who hate water. Critics wrote think pieces about how Bigfoot's anti-product product symbolized postmodern resistance to consumerism, ignoring that Bigfoot mostly wanted things not to smell like fruit. Ranger Debbie, invited on stage as the friend who believed, gifted Bigfoot a deluxe bathrobe embroidered with tiny cedar trees. Blaine teared up again. Even Pepper admitted, Sometimes less is more, unless we're talking about Fringe. Mothman DJ'd the after party. Jersey Devil started a side hustle designing runway harnesses for goats. The inflatable Nessie cutout sold on eBay for an ethically questionable amount. Bigfoot, still uncomfortable with paparazzi, set boundaries. One photo shoot per quarter, all in the woods. When asked what he'd do with his prize money, he simply said, build bigger duck call workshop and buy many maple bars. The press cheered. Someone asked if he'd return for season 2 as a mentor. Bigfoot shrugged. Maybe if contestants allowed to be muddy. Valentina Glick, calculating spreadsheets, realized mud was cheaper than lavender and readily available outside. She greenlit the concept. Back in his forest clearing, Bigfoot placed the trophy comb atop a stump, where it reflected sunrise through cedar branches. He breathed deep, satisfied that his fur smelled of nothing in particular, just honest forest air. A squirrel scampered up, sniffed the comb, and chattered approval. Bigfoot sat down, duck call in hand, and practiced a new tune he'd heard at the after party. Somewhere far off, a fruit bat, disappointed by the lack of pineapple notes, changed course. Life, like hair, had its tangles. But Bigfoot had discovered a style of his own, simple, unscented, and a little bit flannel.